Hey guys, gonna do a quick little video on how to get good shiny top layers and just print shiny silk filament correctly. Um, there's a lot of some of the other videos I've seen just gave terrible advice. Maybe that advice worked for their printer, but in prints, but not on mine. Like one of them had told you to turn on ironing on. Well, if you turn on ironing, you ruin your top layer. It'll feel smooth, but it won't be shiny anymore. Holy shit, it looks shiny there. But no, if you get directly in the light. But yeah, you can see clearly the left and right are shining, and the top layer is like matte. It doesn't lose, it loses the shine. So, yeah, another thing, you know what, let's get right into 3D print settings. So you see these white lines everywhere. If you go into Cura, I'm using a Cura Ender 3 printer, by the way, modded out to run silently. That'd be a separate video if people are interested in that, but a lot of people make videos on how to make your printer silent. If anything, should probably share with you this Fang print cooler, sorry, whatever it is, fan shroud. Fan shroud is what it's called. This is my failed print on that. But anyway, so go to color scheme up at the top, and then choose line type. And that'll give you this screen with all the red and green or whatever it is colors right here. This will show you your Z seam alignment. You see the white there. The white there. Yeah, this was another thing a guy had. He had Z seam alignment, sharpest corner, smart hiding. This might work for some prints, but you can see all this white here. This is creating, the white is your Z seams, and this will straight up ruin your print. It won't fully ruin it, but you will create a lot of weird shit, blotches all over this print. So really, go back to Z seam alignment, user specified, and then from here, choose where you want that Z seam, whether it be back right, front right. You'll just have to play with it. I think I forgot exactly where I put this one. Back right. Let's slice that. Sorry, I didn't mean to scroll. Oh, get rid of smart hiding. Sorry. User specified back right. And you can see now it puts the Z seam all clean in one spot. Clean in one spot. Clean in another spot. This is not actually where I put the Z seam on this one. I think this one I wanted for, back right. Hold on. Match it up with this corner right here. So this would be back left is what I want. That corner is like your front. So go to back left. This is also like, this is going to depend on what you're printing. But yeah, right here. You can see now I've got my Z seam all along here, and that all along there. So that'll help me get a much cleaner print. I no longer have any Z seams around my logo or anything. Yeah, keep all your Z seams in one spot. Get rid of that smart hiding. Like that's such a, it's kind of one of the smaller things, but it's pretty big at the same time. The other thing for a good silk 3D print is your line directions. I print with, hold on, let me see, where are they? It's weird looking at this with the phone and my eyes at the same time. Top and bottom pattern, there we go, lines. This can be changed depending on what you want, but I really like having the lines go with your print. like at least on this model. Certain other models you might go concentric, whereas if you do concentric, I'm just going to show you. This one is a concentric print where you can see the lines, if it focuses, kind of go in a, just keep, the lines never really get interrupted. They just keep going in a square. So when they make that 90-degree turn, it creates that weird little pattern, which it's not terrible, but it's not what I want in this print. I don't want those weird patterns. Sometimes the patterns look kind of cool, but I would much rather have just clean lines, all uniform. This is lines. All the lines go in the exact same way. There is a little layer gap there. I'll explain how to get rid of that. You can see this little layer gap. So I mentioned this was printed at 205 degrees. If you get that, increase your temperature by 5 degrees, and then reprint, and hopefully it should fix out. And try it again at the slightly higher, because these are two different silk filaments I was using. On the left here is the CC3D, the right 0. CC3D prints great at 205 degrees. So I was doing that with 0, but 0 needs 210 degrees. And just that little bit of difference, like I was getting bad under extrusion. I was messing with line width and flow, but no, increase your temperature. Your line width and flow should be fine. Just leave those at the default. I'm using a 0.6 nozzle. Anything less than 0.6, I was getting massive clogs on, or they just kept clogging. So all the silk filaments I've used, 0.6 nozzle. And yeah, so if you're getting this under extrusion, increase your print temperature by 5 degrees at a time, and then reprint. And once I did that, I was getting very clean prints with the 0 filament. Quick little heads up. 0, their silver is a little bit more gray than CC3D's silver on the left here is a little bit more gray than the 0 filament. Also, their gold is pretty comparable. Hello, cat. Yes. But 0's gold has a little bit more like orange, it's a slightly richer color, I guess. We'll see C3D's is a little bit lighter of a gold, but they're both pretty good. Although it's definitely depends on the lighting. Like even right here, even with them right next to each other, the lighting's like not perfectly exact in each of their locations. So it's kind of hard to tell the difference. On some lighting, you can see the difference a lot more. But anyway, this is also printed with 0. Both of these two are 0. And then on the left is the CC3D. Anyway, enough of that. So, what were we talking about? So you got your white lines showing your Z-seam alignment. You got your lines, top layer lines, showing the lines going the same direction. And by the way, if those lines are different, this is the angle degree, so this is at 90-degree angles. So if you change it to like 45 degrees, and then slice it, you will see now all my lines go at 45 degrees. So depending on how you orient your print, you will have to play with that and get your lines going the same way you want. Let's just show you concentric right now. Zigzag is similar, but a little bit different, by the way. It like kind of creates an extra little step on the edges. I'm not going to show it, but I feel like lines look a little bit cleaner. As you can see, concentric just kind of keeps the lines going. And then concentric, I feel like it doesn't do well with these bottom weird patterns so much. Square stuff it kind of can do okay with. But you can see the lines don't get interrupted, they just keep going. But again, I don't like how some of the weird little diamond patterns they make at the ends there. So yeah, I definitely prefer lines. Trying to keep this moving. So I'll quickly scroll through my settings right here. So this is a 0.6 nozzle, layer height. Obviously you can lower your layer height, but it's going to make your print take way longer, but be a little bit more detailed. So it depends what you're doing. I do fairly thick walls just because I want this part to be kind of like a little bit more durable. Because they're little toy guns basically, so I like them to be able to be, I don't want them to break easy. So I got my, where was it? Wall thickness, wall line count, and then the same thing with the top and bottom thickness. See seam position, we did that. Top and bottom thickness. See, it's shorter because of the layer height, but 6 layers should be fine. I feel like any more than that, you're starting to get a little bit overkill. I forgot what monotopic top and bottom order does. Always overlap with adjacent lines in a single joint, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't know what it is, but I did it. Infill density. I'd use grid for my infill pattern, but really it depends on whatever you like. So the grid kind of, the lines go even with each other and don't overlap, and they create a really good supported layer at the very top. But people do other stuff, it's fine. Printing temperature, again, this is for the 0 Silk 3D filament. Build plate, flow, all normal. All that stuff's normal. Didn't edit that at all. Cooling, yes. Why is cooling not showing up? Ah, what the hell did I do? Yeah. Travel, I'm pretty sure I didn't mess with travel at all. Yeah, I only do 80% cooling just because it makes the fan make less noise, but really 100% is probably better. Minimum layer time, I was getting some stuff where if you don't give the layers enough time to cool off, particularly on this print, since this bottom handle is very small, it'll print each layer really quickly, especially at this very top spot. And that won't give the filament enough time to cool down and harden. So it was creating an error here. So I increased the layer time. So no matter what, however fast it prints these top layers, it's still going to give it 14 seconds to cool off before it does the next layer. So that was another setting, but I'm kind of irritated that they didn't say lower it, but I looked at their settings and they had a lower minimum layer time. But they probably didn't have this issue that I had. So when I lowered my minimum layer time, it actually ruined some prints. Honestly, and a lot of these videos will have you adjust settings. Most of the settings I've adjusted without actually checking and seeing what they did have screwed up my prints. So don't change your settings unless you know what it is and what it's doing and how it'll affect your print. Support overhang, I go pretty high. You have to play with your own supports and see. I had a higher angle just because in some of my other versions of this model, it would print supports on the sides here, and I did not want that. So I increased that to make it stop printing those supports. I do zigzag support density. One important thing with supports is the Z support top support Z distance. That's the how far apart your normal print will be from your support and how much of a gap there it'll have. So having a lower will create more accurate prints, but too low and it will be harder to remove your supports. So, and as you change your nozzle size and everything and line size, you might have to adjust that. XY distance keeps it away from the left and right, your support structure. Support interface thickness, yes, definitely enable support interface. That's one thing that'll help a lot. I do 100% support interface density. That might be overkill, but that is your supported layer. It'll help you create a little bit better of a supported layer, just because it'll have a solid layer to print on top of. This is an example of one with a terrible support roof interface. And it'll just look like garbage, I guess, if you don't have a higher interface density, which is that top layer that you're printing on top of. Let's see that dark blue. That's the support interface right there. And that's where I print directly on it. Okay. And floor density, I don't know if that matters as much, but I'm rolling with 60%. My old prints, I used to have very low floor density and it was fine, but whatever. Support interface pattern, concentric, it works. I don't think it matters too much, but concentric does print, it doesn't matter that much. I roll with it. Experimental, but I don't know how much that matters. Conical supports, that's where the bottom of the support is a bit lower, or a bit smaller, and then it kind of builds up more, almost like a tree support. Might save you a little bit of filament and print time, but yeah, that's about all I got there. But yeah, there's not like too many settings I adjust, but like the few settings you do have to adjust, they make a huge difference. And I think as I've said, I was running into huge problems printing silk top layers. Hello, kitty. Mr. Kitty. All right, sorry. Printing my top layers and messing with some of the line flow and line width, but really it was just my nozzle has been way overused and I just need to replace it. Yeah, so that was that. I also ran into a weird issue with thermal runway because I was using a battery backup. I had my 3D printer attached to this guy, which has a max of 300 watts. These printers are supposed to have 330 watts, and it would actually print for like 10 hours before it gave me a thermal runway problem. So that's why I bought this much bigger one that has like a 900 watt or something capacity. And now no more thermal runway. Yeah, I'm sure as you've gone through 3D printing, you've run into weird issues. I've had to replace my thermometer or whatever it is twice now because my first one was like jacked up. But yeah, anyway, I think that's all I got. But yeah, don't change most of the settings. Don't just change random stuff in your 3D printer settings without actually like knowing what it is, or else you legit can mess up some stuff. Especially like I was getting good prints before some of this stuff, and then I've since kind of like took one one of those 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and not knowing what the step back was was ruining some of my prints. So, yes, Mr. K. Alright. I think that's it. Hope this video helps. Almost wasn't gonna do it, but yeah, this was another thing to get rid of the top supported layer, which like feels good, but obviously isn't smooth. I really had to cut my pistol in half and print it in 2 different sections. What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay. Alright. I'm gonna leave it there. Good luck printing, guys. Have a good one. Mr. Kid, what are you doing? What you doing? Yeah? Alright. Yeah. Cat cam.